Millennial pause. We are on the lunch break of the second day of questioning of the undercover police officer Jim Boyling, who, using the cover name Jim Sutton, infiltrated animal rights, environmentalists, particularly Reclaim the Streets, during the years 1995 and 2000. He deceived 3 women into intimate personal relationships, having two children with one of them. I'm joined by Alex Hodgson and Evelyn Lubbers of the Undercover Research Group. The questioning of Boyling, we talked already this morning during the first break about the deceptive relationship he had towards Monica, and we started hearing about Ruth. There was more about the deceptive relationship with Ruth after the break. And then the majority of the questioning referred to his organizational role and reporting around a June the 18th Carnival Against Capitalism. Alex, what did you make of the evidence?
Well, first of all, I think that following on from the kind of pretty cold and repulsive way he discussed his relationship with Monica yesterday and then this morning, the way he discussed his relationship with Ruth was also pretty cold. He kind of just comes across as just somebody who is just clearly using someone both for sex and to worm his way further into the trust of the activists, and but refuses to admit that, and kind of said no, I was just I liked her. I was just in a relationship with these people and I liked them, and actually I was more than half another person. Jim Sutton, who's that? Like, he's a totally different person.
I mean, he point blank rejected the idea that he used her. He rejected the idea that he denied her the ability to make informed consent about the relationship. He was in complete denial about his abusive behavior. We were always saying this is the worst one. This is the worst one. And I would say, like, I've seen all these.
He's pretty close to the worst one.
Yeah, I think he's the worst one.
It's down near the bottom of the barrel.
I have seen all these men who have given evidence to the inquiry, and one of the most difficult parts as a bloke, as a straight bloke who watches these men excuse away the way they've treated women, is that some of the worst parts of it for me personally is like relating to some of the things they say. It always makes me feel really disgusting. I would say as for the first time, I haven't related to anything he's fucking said. What a fucking piece of shit. What a fucking piece of shit.
He really does act.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, he really is like, he does only come across as a narcissist.
Yes.
Who really thinks only of himself.
Yes.
And like, some of the time I can't tell if he's putting it on or if it's cold and calculating, or if he's genuinely going, no, that's weird, isn't it? That it never crossed my mind that I did not in any way ask consent for people, and I used these women in a disgusting, abusive, exploitative way. Like, it's just crazy.
There was a particularly gross section where it was put to him that what Ruth had said about, once she found out that he was an undercover police officer, she said that she felt disgusting about him, and he wanted to know details. He wanted to know specifics. What was it about it that, I mean, it was so fucking gross.
One thing Jim does really come across is as narcissistic, but also that he has this kind of God complex. It's like, he really enjoyed. He got a buzz about deceiving people, about knowing things that some people didn't know. He still has a feeling that he's able to manipulate people. I think in the inquiry, he's giving evidence like he can kind of, play the inquiry, like he can play us. He played us, he can play the inquiry, maybe he can play the police a bit, like he's still a bit of a master manipulator. And he does that I think he feels that way about the women. And I mean, let's not forget that this was Monica was the first, and then Ruth was the second, and then Rosa is the third. This was a continuous series of relationships where he entered into relationships with women without consent, without informed consent. And at all points of that, there's no way that someone in that situation who's an undercover police officer is not knowing exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, Evelyn, I mean, just on the Ruth thing before we get on to everything else, is there any points you want to make?
Yeah, what I noticed is that, oh my God, there's some heavy drilling going on here.
Apologies, I'm not sure if you can pick up the heavy drilling that's happening.
So we can't even hear ourselves. So
it's proper RTS banging techno.
in the way he talked about that, and he was like more. He claimed that he was more emotional in that relationship when she tried when. I think he said he tried to break up, but that was like it took a couple of times, and Ruth in a statement claimed that he'd been crying, and he confessed that he had been crying. And Bar is doing such a good job, like just keeps coming back on sexual gratification, and you were living your existential existence to the full, and like he's becoming so cynical. He really finds him appalling. That comes through like in a.
I mean, anybody would find him appalling. I mean, one of the things I thought was particularly stood out for me as just particularly gross, when he was explaining that section you just talked about, he said, I think people need to be more understanding about the difficulties facing an undercover officer. And I mean, I think, like, people were posting.
You
would
like, never understand. People in the room would. He said that several times. Like, this won't fall right in this room, or like people in the room would never understand, or like he has this very high feelings of worth. Like, how do you say that? So big self-esteem, and he really. Well, the point is what we were talking about before. Like, is he manipulating, or is that just the way he is?
Is he actually cold and calculating?
Yes.
Like, kind of, it's really difficult to know. It's hard to know.
Yeah. And also, it is, he is, whether he does it consciously or not, he is manipulating with the women, with everything he says. And it's like, like the effect on the women hearing him right now is like devastating. It is really difficult to hear.
I mean, it is really re-traumatizing. The way he talks about those relationships with those women and is re-traumatizing in the way he discusses them is you can see the effect it's having on people. And I mean, it's disgusting. He is a disgusting human being. And I mean, it is the joke. It is the running joke of the call participants that the last officer who appeared was the lowest of the low, and like it can't possibly get any worse. And then the next one is always worse. And then Boyling has, as some people predicted, managed to trump kind of.
I think it's the combination of having this relationship, because we're gonna have Carlo Neri or Saraki, and that he's been the bastard as well. But then with Boyling, it's also the next topic we're gonna get on. It's like the fact that he was so much in the middle of organizing a lot that he was supposed to survey on, like many of the like really large events would not have been a success without him or without his participation, and that makes it even. And then like with that thing we discussed this morning, that he would be the judge of what he would report or not, because like that got complex thing. It's like that the combination of the way he dealt with women and the very key role he had.
Like, let's get in.
Well, yes, whether or not that's actually true or not, that he's made a point both yesterday and today of saying, I withheld this, I judged whether to report that. It's difficult to know how much he's telling the truth of that or not, because some of it is contradicted by reports we've seen anyway. So some of it is not true, but some of the time he's definitely saying, look, he basically said, me and my handler sympathized with anti-genetics actions, therefore we went easy on them and we didn't pass information to the relevant police force. I mean, really?
Right.
Was that the real reason, or was it because it would have exposed SDS operations and specifically his identity, or laid that open to a possibility? But also, the kind of the being right in the middle of these organizations like RTS, and the last bit of evidence that he gave just before the end of the feed, basically claiming that RTS wouldn't have been a success without Special Branch propping it up, that basically, and the kind of implication left there a little bit is that it's me. Look at me. I'm making everything happen. I'm the kind of spider sitting in the middle of the web. Like, he is a narcissist, but I think narcissism is a little bit the kind of tone of the SDS, and it's especially encouraged by Lambert. It's this kind of thing of people. the SDS having this information, not giving it to everybody, but judging who it, giving some to other people, giving some to businesses, giving some to, City of London Police, or withholding it from City of London Police, giving it some to the, basically being like, well, we're sitting in the middle of this web playing the game. That's a bit what Lambert's kind of approach was, and that you can see that in Jim's evidence, I think.
Yeah, no, very much. I mean, I think that thing we just mentioned there at the end, where he talks about the way in which organizations flourished once they were infiltrated by the SDS, because then the SDS were ideally placed to get the information. I mean, just a nonsense, given, I mean, the vast majority of organizations, not least Reclaim the Streets, fell apart after they were been infiltrated by undercover officers.
Reclaim the Streets put on a series of massively successful events, attracting thousands and thousands of people. And SDS infiltration by Boyling and Jason Bishop destroyed RTS in the end.
Yeah. So we did get on to after we the June the 18th, counter-relentless capitalism. There were a few other things, but I think that was the main one. Boyling talked about being a key organizer, right in the heart of the organizing. He said he talked about how normally he would brief his handler orally, but because there was so much detailed information, he was writing down reports during this period. He said that as treasurer, he spent £13,000 on hiring and buying equipment for the day. He accepted all of GRD's evidence about him being the key organizer and planner for the blocking of the roads during the car crashes. He talked about what happened on the day. We heard a bit about this turf war that existed between the Metropolitan Police and the City of London Police. He claims the City of London Police turned down the intelligence briefings from the Met. He seemed to show a level of understanding about the higher levels of things which previously that would be above my pay grade. It didn't seem like that was it?
No, here he went like fully like, okay, we had it. Had they accepted it, they could have stopped it, but
I think that's in response to people pointing us. We have pointed out. I think that I don't know how much I can say, but that we know that SDS intelligence was withheld deliberately by the Met from City of London Police in order to advance the Met's own turf wars with the City of London Police. And I think his evidence that the City of London Police refused that is in response to that evidence. They're trying to downplay how much they played the City of London Police and allowed that event to happen in order to make the City of London Police look bad and gain kudos and gain control of public order events in the city. So I don't know how much credence we should give to anything he says about that.
Anything he says, full stop.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Quite. Just quickly before we carry on, there are 30 people watching. Only one person has liked it. If you are able to like it, share this. It makes a huge difference how many people see these videos. So please do share if you're able to unlike it. Sorry, Evelyn.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
No, but I mean, just on this thing about the June the 18th. I mean, it should be stressed. This was an incredible action. I mean, we've already covered it a couple of times over the last week or so of hearings at the inquiry. Very influential. I mean, certainly, like personally, I was there, and Boyling was asked about events during the day, specifically like the disorder and the criminality. He talked about the way in which the Futures Exchange was stormed by activists who ended up in running battles with the security, getting up the escalators towards the trading floor. He talked about the way that the City of London Riot Police were deployed, tried to form a kettle, how himself and the other organisers left, and when on the other side of the bridge they could see a smoke coming out of the city as it appeared that buildings were being set on fire.
And also could see police waiting to get in to interfere, but from the Met apparently not having been given permission or not being asked.
He talked about the use of the coloured masks, the way that people were splitting 4 ways to go from Liverpool Street to the sound system in the city itself. He talked about lots of the different little actions, like the bringing of breeze blocks in order to brick up an entrance into one of the city buildings. He showed how much like the complex organising was around so much of what happened that day, and how he was really in the centre of it. And he gave the impression very much that without his role, supposedly.
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, like, the thing is that he was in the centre of it, and he did play a part in that. But it's important to remember that this was a massive event with hundreds of groups were involved, thousands of individuals, thousands of people were present. Lots and lots of plans were made about 10, 11 months of discussions, plans, thinking about it, different actions being taken. Although Jim was very heavily involved in the logistics of organising the day, so were many other people. And in itself, it was a successful action, like many RTS events, because lots and lots of people played a part. I mean, Boyling and the SDS Boyling both wants to say it wouldn't have happened without me, but also not want to say, actually, I basically agent provocateur something to happen. So he's steering this kind of line. He is kind of saying it wouldn't have been so good without me, but like it would. I mean, someone else would have taken that job on. It would have happened. It's just, it's a kind of it's a bit of a conceit, really. They have this conceit that they're ultra competent, therefore they make things happen, and the activists are just a useless bunch of layabouts who can't get out of the squat in the morning because they're too busy like only sleeping with activists who like share the same beliefs as them and not having any contact with anyone else in the world.
Yeah, I think you're completely right, but it is very clear that what he's doing on the stand is admitting to being an agent provocateur.
Yeah.
Like any kind of concern about not doing that, which you've heard from so many previous officers, from managers in the past, that was always a golden rule, that no SDS officer. I mean, he's not even paid lip service to the idea that he shouldn't be an agent provocateur.
And he hasn't been asked.
I mean, there's no need. I mean, he's
laying it all out.
Yeah,
but,
very much.
But you have to have it like there in words laid down. I don't know. Why should I ask?
Yeah, I do think it's important because it is. There's a very fine line that he's treading, and I think he's trying to stay on one side of it. I think. I mean, it's different to being the person who suggests that DA18 should take place, and being the one who proposes that certain things should be blocked, to doing the logistics because he sits in a meeting and says, Jim, you're good at that. And I think at the moment he's staying a bit on that side of the line. I don't know. I mean, it is carefully worded. I think I do think we underestimate how much these are very highly trained police officers who have been trained in order to, they're trained in order to what they say. They're trained to give evidence. They're trained to lie. They're trained to say things in a way that makes sense legally, and especially undercovers. They're trained to give an account of themselves. And they've been trained for this inquiry, I imagine, to give an account of themselves that stays the right side of the line in some cases. I don't say they haven't, or some of them haven't strayed over it whether by mistake or by arrogance. And Jim is quite arrogant.
Quite.
And I think he occasionally says things that makes you think, "Whoa, do you really want to say that?" He did say one thing, which was in the second session, which I think should be picked up on. He said, in relation to intelligence of the SDS in regards to private companies, he said private companies would submit inquiries as to actions or activists in relation to those companies, and the SDS would mark their homework and hand it back. So that's an admission, which I don't know if it's ever been admitted previously, that the SDS is providing evidence to private companies as to what activists are doing in relation to those companies. Now that, to me, I've followed this for about, many years, and I'm not sure if that's the first admission. It's the first time it's been admitted that the SDS did that. We've suspected it, and we've probably got evidence of it, but that's the first time I think anyone's admitted it.
Sure.
Yeah, it is definitely the first time. Also, the idea that it was only a one-way thing just sounds like nonsense.
Yeah, that's nonsense. Back in the McLibel day, Helen Steele and Dave Morris filed a case against the police for exchanging information. The Mets exchanging information with McDonald's, which they wanted to go all the way, and the Mets settled because they didn't want it to come out. So yeah.
Oh, we've had some comments. Jack Shepherd, who is Chris Bryan from the Undercover Research Group. I've just unmasked him in his. He doxed himself on a regular basis. Let's be clear. Someone else could have done Boyling's role for any of the actions he was involved in. Yeah. Very true. And then another comment, also by Chris. Agent provocateur is closely defined in law as encouraging someone to do something they would have not done otherwise. They would have not otherwise not done. Driving someone to a location falls short of that. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, there are specifics.
Yeah, I think we should actively compare Boyling's role in J18 with, as a completely random and unrelated example, drawing someone into a plot to firebomb several branches of Debenhams and then carrying it out yourself as an action which has been attributed to Boyling's mentor, burning Bob Lambert, former undercover officer and
Then manager.
sex pest, and then a manager of the SDS throughout the 1990s, and mentor, father figure, groomer to Jim Boyling.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like Jim Boyling is like slightly sort of modelled himself after Bob Lambert. I mean, particularly.
It's creepy. It's like he's growing. It's like a dog and its owner starting to look alike.
Yeah, very much. We are on our lunch break. It'll be really good for us to go and get some lunch. Evelyn, is there anything on to add?
That's fine.
No.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining us. We'll be doing another one of these videos during the afternoon break and one at the end of the day. If you are able to like, share, all that kind of stuff, if you check out the hashtag SpyCobs on any social media, you'll find more of this information if you're new to it. Thanks for joining us. See you all again in a bit. Bye for now.